Hey guys, it's Jaden. I wanted to give you another video lesson, and this one is kind of piggybacking off of the Sales 101 video. This lesson will be about qualifying owners of the business. And I think that this is really important because business owners are the lifeblood of our business. And if you don't talk to a business owner, chances are you're talking to what I call a non-decision maker. And therefore, you're not only wasting their time from keeping their business owner happy, but you're also wasting your time in getting a client that you can provide value for. So just to jump right into it, there's 3 different points that I want to talk about. And then I'll also do a separate bonus video for people who are specifically doing cold calling and or email marketing. This one's going to be primarily for door-to-door or in-person sit-down meetings with business owners. So the 3 that I want to talk about for qualifying a business owner, the first one is their annual gross sales or revenue. The second one is going to be the total number of employees and getting into more specifics on how to tell what employees are good and what aren't. And the third one is also equity ownership of a business owner. And that one's really important, so I hope you guys enjoy this lesson. The first one I want to talk about is revenue. So if a business is doing, in my opinion, under $1 million in sales, it's going to be very hard to try to convince them to expend any other revenue into growing their business. And it's not because they don't want to grow or they can't spend the money to grow. It's just chances are those business owners don't have the comfort or rainy day accounts to luxuriously ship out income that easily. So I personally try to target clients who have 1.5 million in gross annual sales at a minimum. My personal sweet spot's between 5 and 10 million. If you get anybody above 10 million, beware, you may have to have more credibility, and chances are those owners are going to require a lot more consistency and follow-up as they are way past the tiers of success for normal business, small business owners. So like I said, the sweet spot's 5 to 10 million for a business owner. Gross annual sales is very important. Usually businesses, they make 10% net income from their gross annual sales. So what that means is if a business owner has a company that makes $10 million a year, chances are he's only taking $1 million home. Vice versa, if they're owning a company and their costs are even more and it eats their margins even thinner, you might be working with a client who's dealing with scarcity. So just be mindful of revenue and always make sure to ask the question, how much are you doing in sales on an annual basis? If they don't want to give specific numbers, just ask for a ballpark, and that way you can gauge yourself in the realm of whether or not they're qualified or not. So moving on to the second one, this kind of gives you a understanding if they're more close-guarded about their annual sales, which is the number of employees. So employees are very critical to businesses, and obviously every owner knows that they cost something. It adds to the pressure of their bottom line. So it's really keen to understand not only how many employees they have. I usually go with a business that has a minimum of 10 full-time employees. It's also good to ask if they have 10 employees or 20 or 5, if they're full-time, part-time, and on some industries, seasonal workers. These are critical variables in whether or not a business can be qualified to handle a marketing service like we are. And I would say the sweet spot for businesses is usually between 20 and 75 full-time employees. Now, if your industry is a little bit more niche specific, like for me specifically, doctors, they usually have lower employees per capita, and that means that their net income is going to be greater on a business scale. So if a business is doing, $1 million in sales and it's a healthcare practice, chances are they're making a little bit over the 10% mark, but you also have to consider that the amount of work that goes into that income is also requiring a lot more certification, and so that's why the economies are of scale. So I hope that makes sense. And the last thing that I want to talk about is equity ownership of a company. This is crucial. And this goes back to qualifying a business owner, making sure you're talking to a decision maker and not a non-decision maker like a manager. A couple of you have told me that you're speaking with managers or you're speaking with vice presidents or even presidents that don't have equity in the company. They're just there to run the operations of it. That's not as important as speaking with the person who has the decision to pull the trigger and purchase your services. And the reason why that's important is because you don't want to go through the time and effort of providing a value to these non-decision makers for them to say, thank you so much for your presentation. I want to talk to my boss who has the ability to pull the trigger, and that basically puts you a step back. You now have to repitch yourself, and it just becomes a hassle. So make sure you're talking to an equity owner. My preference is that they have 100% equity. That way you only have to talk to one person. But if they have partners, make sure you're talking to the majority partners. So if there's 2 partners, 51% majority equity owner. If they have 4 partners, if there's 25 split, chances are you're gonna have to talk to all 4 of them unless one of them has been deemed to make all of the decisions. You know, some practices that I work with, they have multiple doctors that split ownership. One of them is more of the behind the scenes manager who makes the decisions for the business. So in all, revenue, number of employees, and equity ownership are crucial for qualifying a business owner. And if you're going to be calling these business owners on the phone to initially set up the door-to-door or sit-down appointment, always make sure you have their address verified, because it's terrible to set up an appointment and then have the wrong address and then you look bad because you didn't do the right research and you didn't ask the right questions. Number 2, it's always professionally polite to verify and reconfirm an appointment the day before or even the week of. So say you have an appointment with somebody on Wednesday, on that Monday, call them and say, hey, it's, you know, XYZ. I wanted to make sure that we're still on for Wednesday at this time. If we are, that's great. I'll see you then. If not, when can we reschedule to? Always make sure that you're building a pipeline if somebody's going to cancel on you, but at the same time, make sure that they're qualified and that they're staying on track for what you're trying to provide value for. So I hope this helps, guys. I will do a little bonus video on those who are not doing door-to-door. You guys are just doing phone calls or email marketing. And I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. Let me know what you learned from this lesson in the comment section below. And what's one thing you're going to take away from this that you're going to try to execute and ask a business owner tomorrow. Make sure that you're doing this within 24 hours. Otherwise, you're going to depreciate the lesson, okay? Thanks for listening, and talk to you guys soon.